Hi there, welcome to Preparing for Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Eve Mapanda. Well, hello there, ladies. I've not said ladies before, but I'm going to say it today for the first time because this podcast, when I started it, I just started it because the Holy Spirit was leading me to just start, and I didn't have a plan. I was just walking in obedience because it was something for so long that I knew I had to do. And I started to even plan it. I wrote down notes, but guess what? It did not happen. And do you always feel like sometimes you can plan something for so long and then you plan it for so long that the planning actually cripples you from taking action? So yes, that's where I was. And the Holy Spirit just convicted me to just start. And if you go back to my first podcast, I just had no plan, had no intention. I just took my phone. I'm actually using my phone right now. So all the podcasts that I have recorded have actually been on my iPhone. No fancy gadget, no mic. It's just come on here, put your voice out, and that's it. And so I've been working with women and also young people, and it's an area that I'm very passionate about. And so whoever listens to this podcast, I pray that it will bless you. But I also want to focus on just also making sure that I am helping the women and helping them to amplify their voices and to be able to execute their ideas using the gifts that God has given them, and not just women, but also young people, because we live in a world where there's so much that's happening, there's so much that's going on, there's so much that's happening in people's lives that are causing them to stay in a state of fear, to stay in a state of being depressed and not believing in themselves. So I want this podcast to whoever, anybody, it could be a man, it could be a woman, it doesn't matter. I just want to be able to share something that will help someone to get from a place of feeling hopeless to actually knowing that they matter and knowing that they can do what has been placed in their heart by believing in themselves, believing in what God says, and actually being bold enough to do what they have been called to do. And I know that is easier said than done because I have been there. And so I will be sharing throughout this podcast the stories of my own personal stories that I've had to endure to get to a place where I'm able to use the gifts that I have been placed in me and for me to live out my purpose, because I believe that we live out our purpose every single day. But the only difference here is actually living out our purpose with intention of what we have been called to do. And that is the key thing to remember, because I think oftentimes we hear this word living in purpose and walking in purpose, and sometimes, and I mentioned it in the last podcast, sometimes being and living in purpose is just about also being ourselves. It's about waking up every day and doing something small that you think might not matter, but yet matters to someone else, because we are here to be of service to others. And so every time you're of service to someone else, you're doing something of purpose, you're living in purpose, and you're being intentional about it. And sometimes we have to go back to that and know that we matter and that we are actually walking in our purpose every single day. Now, with that said, I just want to briefly touch upon opportunities. And yesterday on our fellowship call for the Circle of Faith Sisters, we actually, before we went into prayer, we spoke about opportunities, and sometimes opportunities will miss us because we are always looking for the next thing, or we're always thinking about, we'll do it tomorrow. And so sometimes we plan so much not knowing that actually tomorrow might not come, for one, or tomorrow might come and we might end up not doing it. We want something else. And so we end up missing what God has in store for us because we did not take the opportunity to act. And it's important that we realize that every single day, every single moment that we are living is a new opportunity. Every single minute is a new opportunity. And there's things that present themselves to us. And it's up to us to think about whether we're going to grab that opportunity or we're going to let it go. And the thing about God's work is sometimes we might see things as tedious. We might see situations as things that are not going to bring anything onto our lives. But then it's that very same opportunity that we might think is small, that we might think is tedious, that we might think it's not worth our time, that God will use to bless us. And so I want to encourage you in terms of that opportunity that has been presented to you. Like for me, the Holy Spirit presented the opportunity for me to get on and just start this podcast. For me, this is an opportunity to be able to share my voice to help others. For me, that's an opportunity. And I didn't get caught up in the how am I going to do it. I just did. I just took it. And so we need to be able to walk in obedience sometimes and not question about these opportunities, not question how it's going to happen, what we're going to do, and just fall into just doing it. And so today I want to challenge you to grab opportunities, big, small, even those that are so uncertain that you don't understand. But also when it comes to grabbing those opportunities, it's very important to pray for discernment. It is so important to pray for discernment. And it's also so important to listen to your heart. Because one thing I've come to also realize is where there's no peace, any situation where there's no peace, God is not in it. And so I've had to learn that the hard way in recent years. And so understand that opportunities are important and they are the very thing that God will use to bless you, no matter what it looks like to you right now. So I'm challenging you from today on to grab those opportunities. Stop waiting for the right time. Stop waiting for a manual to know how to do something. Stop waiting for the right equipment. Stop waiting for people to nudge you and tell you, come on, go on, you can do it. Nudge yourself, push yourself. Stop waiting to be validated or for people to validate your opportunity. You can start by validating yourself. So I will leave you with that challenge, and I hope that you will take every moment, every day as an opportunity that you need to grab. And you need to trust God and trust yourself that you deserve to live in whatever God has placed in you and whatever He has called you to do. And it starts by trusting in God and in yourself.